My fellow Americans.
Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
A man holds in his mortal hand the power to abolish all forms of human poverty and all forms of human life.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
He says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that.
No, it's not us.
No, we don't know shit. We're broadcasting you the signal, and you're picking it up, and this is As the World Burns. I mean, you know what's weird? Washington, D.C. going into martial law.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. Why?
Yeah, it's been a pretty eventful week. Yeah, I don't know.
What was the reasoning behind that?
I guess, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Big Balls, Elon Musk's coder guy.
Yeah.
I guess what happened was he went into like kind of a rough neighborhood and he was trying to prevent some woman from being carjacked, and he ended up getting beat up by a group of ruffians. So now they're declaring martial law.
Jesus. Just because of one incident? That's insane.
Yeah, it happens.
It's a ploy. This is a ploy. What the fuck?
It was kind of interesting because a lot of people online were saying
somebody attempted to murder the husband of the Speaker of the House, and they didn't do that.
I guess this was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, huh?
The straw was Big Balls' last straw. But yeah, it's crazy. So that's a thing that might be happening.
Oh wow, this is cool. There's an Easter egg for Trevor Moore in Weapons.
Really?
Yeah, so I haven't seen the movie yet, but I guess there's a scene where like somebody in the cafeteria or somebody's has like a tray full of food, and it's got 7 hot dogs on it, and that's like a reference to a Trevor Moore skit. Apparently, Kreger started writing this movie to cope with the death of Trevor Moore, and he released on Trevor Moore's the anniversary of his death. That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
That is crazy.
But yeah, I guess the scene shows a picture of Trevor Moore, and he says 7 hot dogs, 7, yeah, a day. Is that high? It's a little high. 7 hot dogs a day.
That's a little high.
It's a little high. I'm worried the future's gonna suck, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty worried about that. I'm honestly worried about this alien spaceship that's coming right now.
That is what I'm least worried about. I'm excited for that.
I'm not.
I know how you feel about aliens coming here, but like, I think that's like one of the few things that like.
Can I really tell you one of the things that if the aliens are out there, what I truly believe?
What?
If aliens are out there, I do believe that the Earth has been protected for a long time by aliens, and I do believe that they care about us, and that some aliens have a deep investment in the prosperity of the human race, so to speak.
Yeah.
I also think that there's other aliens out there that want nothing more than to just conquer. And I think a lot of the people that were saying that we had an agreement with the aliens in that we were good unless we, got close to annihilating ourselves, or as a collective were deemed like too negative to continue because it would have led into a negative spiral. I think if all those theories are true, like coming together, I think that's the case, is that potentially, like a lot of people say that the New Jersey drones were a lot of these UFOs that were protecting the planet leaving. And now afterwards, we're going to get scouting ships that are going to just come in and just completely take over. And we're going to experience like another enslavement, basically, from races that are a little less kind to our prosperity than some of those other ones that were looking out for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but I think if that alien ship that everybody thinks is like a hostile alien ship or whatever, I think that right there, that theory is probably what A.V. Loeb or whoever was probably thinking about. UFOs left Earth that were protecting it, and that one's coming to take it over. That's also what a few other people have said, though. Like, there's predictions that the end of the world will come with an alien race that comes and tries to enslave us, like premonitions.
We'll see.
We shall see.
We shall see. Again, I just think that, like, when it comes to me, I feel like they really wouldn't need to destroy us. Like, why would they destroy us? They don't need to do that at all.
They don't need to do anything. It's like people, dude. Everybody's different in the world.
Yeah.
Some people look at the fact that because you have something they don't, they want to take it from you, or other people look at the fact that they don't need anything in life, that they're happy with having solid ground below their feet, good air to breathe. You know what I mean? Some people just wake up happy every day, other people wake up miserable. It's not innately their fault, but sometimes it's just how they evolved over time or adapted to the climate that they were raised in or brought up in, or the situation that they came from. And a lot of
No,
these
I know
aliens
what
probably
you're saying.
came from, you know what I mean? They
I know what you're
probably
saying.
came
There's a
from,
lot of different options on how, and we've talked about this before.
yeah.
But we talked about this also. I told you, like, that's why I think I'm so optimistic. It's because, like, it makes sense. Like, there's so much evidence of them stopping horrific things from happening that we've done to ourselves. Why would they just let this finally end? Why?
I think because we've come to the point, or not we, as in you and I, but the
Not we.
it's definitely not you and I, but like the collective humanity has gone to the point where they're not sharing like secrets with the lower echelons of people that'll lead to
That's how it's always been.
help. It is, but that's
how it's literally always been since they've been here.
it is, but maybe they're finally starting to come to the understanding that that's the mistake. It's like they think maybe that they're Prometheus. They think that maybe that was the issue.
I don't think highly advanced beings would need to come up with that conclusion that we've probably come up with more than like millions of times throughout history. Like, think about how many times humans have probably thought about that. You think aliens only just now, after a million years, thought about that?
I don't think after a million years they've thought about it. I think they've been thinking about it.
I think that there's a good chance that like we talk about it, the dark woods or the dark forest theory of space.
Yeah.
And that maybe there is some unknown thing coming here. But there's also things that are known, that at least know us, that are already around here. And yes, it is scary that there could be like an unknown alien thing approaching, but I think that I have no reason to believe that the aliens that have been here are suddenly flipping on us. There's no evidence of that.
Yeah, but dark forest theory, it states that the reason why we don't see that many alien civilizations coming and going
I know
is
what it means.
because at a certain point they just burn themselves out.
Yeah. Well, also because we don't see them because they're hiding too. That's the real thing. We never see other aliens because advanced species know not to do that.
Well, yeah, it's like going to a tribe when you're like a rich Rockefeller and you don't know nothing, and you go to a tribe and the tribe people eat you and cannibalize you.
Except they didn't.
What, the Rockefeller?
Yeah, he lived.
Thought the Rockefeller died.
All they know is that he disappeared after finding that tribe and like mingling with them. He just disappeared, and then there was a mysterious photo taking a couple of years later that showed a half-naked white man living with their tribe, and it's probably him.
Yeah, but didn't they find like I thought they found like his jaw potentially, and
Look
they
it up.
thought that
Could have been just like he naturally died, and they just, because they're tribal people, they just kind of like used his bones.
All right, this is actually a great topic. This is
Right?
totally random, but this is a
Right?
great topic.
I agree.
Rockefeller that got eaten.
I think we need to like accept our own dichotomy. You know what I mean? I'm the optimist. You're the we'll call it a realist. I'll be nice and call it a realist.
We'll call it a realist. You think I'm pessimistic?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm that. I think I'm
pretty pessimistic about most supernatural things, I think. I think you think, and I'm not insulting you. I'm not coming down on it. I'm just saying that like your point of view is that like most supernatural things are probably out for us.
I don't think that. I think it's
What's on our side?
well, I think it's like anything else. It's like I don't think that people inherently having guns is a problem, but I think the person who has the gun can be a problem.
But that's still, but to just assume you're saying
I just assume that
in
there's
practice,
that
what
there's
you're
all
saying is that
factions of life, that there's different people and different forces of nature that can affect my life.
if that's how you felt, then the threat of aliens should be neutral to you. It should be like, yeah, it could be something bad, but it could be something good. It should be as simple as that.
That is how I feel, though. Like,
But no, you
think
it's mostly going to be you think it's going to be bad.
that's not what I think.
That is what you said.
I didn't say that for a fact. I'm saying that could be a possibility. What I said is that there's good aliens out there protecting us, possibly, and then there's bad aliens that, when the good aliens stop protecting us, will come and just pillage our entire area.
But why would they stop protecting us?
Because I think that we've gotten to a point where we are starting to look like the bad aliens.
Yeah, we'll see. I think, dude, we've had Hitlers, you know, we've had Neros, we've had fucking. But that's all throughout history. Like that's
But that's
nothing
what I'm
new.
saying.
That's
Yeah, I
nothing
know,
new.
but I know.
So why would they just flip on us now? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense.
I don't consider my views pessimistic, because the way I look at the world is prepare for the worst but hope for the best. I don't think that's a pessimistic point of view. I think that's just a take everything in all at once kind of point of view. Like,
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
yes, exactly. but
So-
you know, like I don't think that the
look up the,
universe is inherently evil, but I don't think the universe is inherently good.
Me
Well, hold
neither.
on. I mean, shouldn't we let's want to do the disappearance real quick? It's pretty short.
Are you talking about? Wait, are you talking about Rockefeller?
Yeah, Michael Rockefeller was his name.
That's what I was going to tell you. I was going to say, look into that jawbone. Look it up.
All right, let's see if this is what happened. On November 17th, 1961, Rockefeller and Dutch anthropologist Rene Wassing were in a 40-foot dugout canoe about 3 nautical miles from shore when their double pontoon boat was swamped and overturned. Their 2 local guides, Simon and Leo, swam for help, but it was slow in coming. After drifting for some time early on November 19th, Rockefeller said to Wassing, "I think I can make it." According to Wassing, Rockefeller created a float for himself out of a jerry can in the boat's gas tank, took a compass and knife, and set off to the shore between 7 and 8 a.m. On November 19th, Wassing's last sight of him was about 30 minutes later. "I saw him in a straight line going toward shore until I just saw 3 dots, the 2 cans in his head." Wassing was rescued the next day by Segala and Yatich, but Rockefeller was never seen again despite an intensive and lengthy search effort. According to Rockefeller's surviving twin, Mary Morgan, who accompanied her father to South Papa to participate in the search for her brother, the Dutch and Australian naval and air units had been sending out helicopters and boats to participate in the search, along with the local Dutch officers. And many of the Asmat villagers were valiantly combing the small rivers in their canoes for some evidence of Michael. At the time, his disappearance was major international news. His body was never found, and he was declared legally dead in 1964. Here's speculation. It was originally reported that Rockefeller either drowned or was attacked by an animal, such as a shark or a saltwater crocodile. The boat was an estimated 12 nautical miles from the shore when Rockefeller made the attempt to swim to safety, supporting the theory that he died from exposure, exhaustion, or drowning. However, because headhunting and cannibalism were still present in some areas of Asmat in 1961, and still are, there has also been widespread speculation based around local testimony that Rockefeller was killed and eaten by tribespeople from the Asmat village of Oostjanet. 2 Dutch missionaries who were fluent in local languages and who had been living in the area for years accumulated a large amount of testimony from witnesses. The account repeated by a number of villages was that Rockefeller was pulled out of the water wearing underwear, and despite a dispute about whether or not he should be killed, he was non-fatally stabbed in the abdomen and later finished off somewhere along the Johor River. In December 1961, 4 locals told Minister Hubertus von Piege that Rockefeller's remains and personal effects, including his head, long bones, ribs, shorts, and glasses, had been divided amongst the 15 Asmats. Von Piege and missionary Cornelius van Kessel both wrote the same regional supervisor, repeating nearly identical accounts with a myriad supporting details from residents of 4 separate villages in the vicinity. Both ministers expressed a very high degree of certainty that Rockefeller had been killed by local warriors. The motive for killing him was revenge for the killing of 5 Oostjanet residents, Farisjum, Osum, Akon, Semut, and Ipi, by Dutch colonial soldiers under Administrator Max Lepre, who opened fire on the villagers in January 1958. So basically, like, trying to take revenge for something that happened, like, unrelated to him. The first public report that Rockefeller was killed and dismembered and his long bones turned into weapons and fishing equipment was published by the Associated Press in March 1962. A second investigation later that year by a patrolman named Wim van de Waal on behalf of Dutch colonial government came to the same conclusion. Van de Waal was given a skull bearing no lower jaw and a hole in the right temple. the hallmarks of remains that had been headhunted and opened to consume the brains, which he turned over to Dutch authorities who never asked him to write a written report, never asked him to verbally report his conclusion. The information was apparently deemed politically sensitive in part because of the fragile state of the Dutch Empire and the Indonesian archipelago, and in part because of Nelson Rockefeller's political celebrity in the United States. The findings of Van de Waal's investigation are restated in the written memoir of Antoine de Woo, a successor of missionary to Van Kessel. In 1969, journalist Milt Malklin traveled to the island to investigate Rockefeller's disappearance. He dismissed reports of Rockefeller living as a captive, but concluded that circumstantial evidence supported the idea he had been killed. Neither cannibalism nor headhunting in Asmat were indiscriminate, but rather were part of an eye-for-an-eye revenge cycle. So it is possible that Rockefeller found himself the victim of such a cycle. Under the Asmat belief system, several of the killers named Finn, Ajim, Pep, Jane, Samut would have sacred obligation to avenge the deaths of the men killed by Lepre. In the documentary film Keep the River on Your Right, Tobias Steenbaum states that he spoke with some Asmat villagers at Ochinep who described finding Rockefeller on the riverside and eating him. In 2012, Michael's surviving twin sister Mary published a memoir titled Beginning with the End, a memoir of twin loss and healing, about coping with her grief after the death of her brother. The book was issued in paperback in 2014 as When Grief Calls Forth the Healing. Oh, come on. It seems like you were just trying to sell a book at that point.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, right? Many of the Asmat artifacts Rockefeller collected are part of the Michael C. Rockefeller Wing collection at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. All right. So I don't know if they ever found, I guess maybe the head was what I thought was the jawbone they found, but
It's just unknown. It's just a mystery.
yeah. I think it is interesting that the villagers admitted to possibly eating him, though. That is pretty cool. Well, not cool, but
No, I know what you mean.
yeah. Maybe we have some idea, like there's some closure there. Yeah, I don't know. I think aliens could be good. I think aliens could be bad. I think there's a lot of different types of aliens. I mean, if it's like living things, there's predators, there's prey, there's carnivores, there's herbivores. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of different like things in every walk of life. There's omnivores. There's probably intergalactic omnivores that either give a shit or don't give a shit depending on the circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that it's entirely all like that, but who knows? You know what I did get in the fun stuff for the pod one, where I got a shit ton of just random like stories that we can talk about on here. Like this first one, I don't know if you ever heard of Gabriela Rico Jimenez.
No.
She was this like supermodel who like went missing for a few years and then suddenly like popped up in a like an airport, and she was like raving about like how the Queen like was eating people and stuff like that, and how like the Queen of England, and it's like wild stuff. She became known when in August 2009 in Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, Mexico, she starred in a scandal at nightfall at the entrance of a luxurious hotel. This is all being translated from Spanish, by the way. Hotel located on Ocampo Street between Cuauhtémoc and Pino Suarez Avenues, where she accused Elizabeth II, Queen of England, and businessman Carlos Slim of eating human flesh and begging for her freedom. For some, a model due to her impossible appearance, for others, an actress. In August 2009 in Monterrey, Nuevo Leon, Mexico, the protagonist is Gabriela Rico Jimenez, a 21-year-old Mexican woman. She is found screaming at the entrance of a luxurious hotel located on Ocampo Street between Cuauhtémoc and Pino Suarez Avenue. She caused such a scene that the police were notified, who arrested her. The young woman, in a state of post-traumatic shock, laments the crimes the power elite committed against a number of people Gabriela knew, including 3 of her friends, a man named Murillo, and others. Gabriela says she fought for a long time to regain her freedom, and that Carlos Slim Dominique knew everything. Carlos Slim is that guy that was like known as like the richest man in the world at one point. Yeah, he was, before Elon Musk, he was the richest guy.
Okay.
He I think he owned all of like the telephone wires, or like something in Mexico where he owned like every single one, and it was just a major thing. The Mexican television channel used bleep sound to censor some sequences so that certain names or accusations wouldn't be audible. Carlos Slim is a prominent Mexican businessman who is considered one of the richest men in the world and also one of the most influential in Mexican society. Juan Camilo Murillo and Francisco Blake Mora, both former secretaries of the Interior, and close associates of the President of the Republic died in strange, very similar accidents apparently related to drug trafficking. The young woman also mentions a man named Moreno, surely another figure who suffered the same fate. Days later, she was transferred to the La Coña Psychiatric Center in Luján, Buenos Aires province, Argentina, and nothing more was heard from her. In 2010, but if it was known that in that mental hospital in 2010 they found human remains in a state putrefaction bones, it was also known that they had the patients in a deplorable and inhuman state. What is known is about the cover-up that the mass media gave to the case, something that was logical, since the son of the third richest man in the world, Carlos Slim, was implicated in this criminal act, which claimed the lives of 3 girls, the freedom of Gabriella, and who knows how many more victims. A witness shares his testimony of what he experienced firsthand after approaching Gabriella with the intention of helping her in 2015. At that moment, I was in the same place where the girl was taken after being arrested. I was doing my internship there. I have a law degree. I still remember her face full of desperation, fear, anguish being in front of her. The atmosphere felt very heavy and a strange feeling. I approached him and asked him a few questions. His name, if he knew where he lived, etc. He said that we're already dead, that we all were, that we were theirs, among other very strange things. He said left me paralyzed. After spending 20 minutes with her, some tall, well-dressed men arrived and practically dragged me out of there. I asked them why they were doing this, if it was just a poor mentally ill girl. I asked where they were taking her. They told me it wasn't my business and that for my own good I should leave. As I walked away, they stopped me and asked me what she had told me. I gave them crazy answers and ran away. The next day I approached the ministry officials and told them about the matter and that I wanted information because the girl's family was requesting it. They just laughed and said, "Really? If she doesn't exist, she never existed and you don't work here." I felt a chill run over me and left me. I felt everything and left Monterey. I had a feeling that what had happened those days and what that girl said were true. Somehow I left everything and got out of there. She told me that in Monterey, there is some kind of underground base where they live and regularly steal children for food and other things. Because of my profession, I don't dare reveal my encounter. I have a family and children who depend on me, and for logical and reputational reasons, I can't. I would like to go out and spread it to the 4 winds, but society would call me crazy. Even though I have the marks of the attack, I am a little hurt in the back. There are nights that I simply can't sleep. I have that same feeling when I saw them the first time. It's like a feeling. I am grateful that you don't judge me as crazy for telling you that. Only me and those who were with me at that moment know what happened. Those are monsters, at least. The ones who attacked me was a monster. If he found me alone, I would have died, since a drawing came into my hands. So that guy that talked to her was they didn't really mention it in here, but he was like, or maybe they did and I just glossed over it. That was 2015. He basically like asked her a bunch of questions and she told him everything that she knew about like eating people and all this crazy shit. And he was just like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And then some people like carted her off and was like, "Hey, what did she say to you?" That's a crazy one. You never heard of that one?
No.
So that's like, that might be connected. Like that's supposedly like she said that like Queen Elizabeth is like a reptilian or something like that. Like this is connected to like reptilian shit. It's wild.
I want to hear more reptilian shit, but I want to hear like
I was gonna say I have a bunch of different things in here. What kind of stuff you looking for? Possible timeline change in the Orion Cube, alignment of sacred sites, sine wave circumference. Were we on the moon in 2309 BC? You know what's kind of, you know what I didn't realize the other day?
what?
I didn't realize that the Nephilim were water-based, like humanoids. I didn't realize that. Like I was reading this book the other day.
They were what?
They were water-based humanoids that were basically like slaves to the Anunnaki or whatever. But I didn't realize that they were in the Nephilim.
They're offsprings, right? I thought they were just
Hold on.
It's like in the Bible, they're the offsprings of angels, right?
I highlighted this shit about it. First contact. All right, here we go. Earth history. There's a lot of stuff in this book. I think we could like go over because it all like relates to everything we're talking about. Like this little paragraph talks about like the primary purpose of the pyramids, Atlantis, Lemuria. Apparently, like Atlantis the people of Atlantis like fled Atlantis and like went to like different tribes like across like the world. Like the Incans apparently were from Atlantis.
Yeah.
The Nazca lines were like apparently like covering more than 200 miles. A bewildering pattern of gigantic artwork litters the Nazca Plateau. In addition to figures of birds, spiders, and animals, straight lines stretch out in all directions, believed to have been laid down there more than 2,000 years ago. What was their purpose? Observable only from air? Is this the canvas of signs and symbols etched in the sand to honor the pagan gods, or is it a set of messages aimed at travelers from the stars? I've heard that before, though, that it was basically like, hey, land here or something like that. The Dogon.
Oh yeah, the Dogon tribe.
The Dogon. The Dogon had an even more incredible bit of information. They had a visual image of the movement of Sirius A and Sirius B from Earth for the time period between 1912 and 1990, culminating in an exact image of where these stars would be at this time. They also had a great deal of information about the planets in our solar system, including various moons. How did they know or imagine this so specifically? The Uros Indians, who predate the Incas, who live on artificial floating islands in Lake Titicaca, have a similar story. It all began, they say, when a flying saucer came out of the sky at the lake and landed on the island of the sun. And according to them, there was a great deluge that left the entire earth submerged. There was a sacred rock on the island of the sun, which was the first tip that broke out of the water. And as we shall soon see, it was there that a man named Chicaquet Arlic Vomalites, along with several Atlanteans, landed and began the Inca race. The original story tells of earlier encounters with dolphin-like beings who came into the flying saucer and landed on the island of the sun and began to communicate with the locals. I'm pretty sure those dolphin-like beings are like the Nephilim or something. I was reading about how the Nephilim were basically like they helped us build and shit, but they were also like kind of they were basically like these water humanoids, basically. You know what I've come to the conclusion of, though, is that
What?
there's probably like a pole shift happening, and
Yeah.
that's like why a lot of this crazy shit's happening.
Well, it's the pole shift. It's a few things. Like we've talked before about how since like 2020, I feel like we're turning into like a chaotic soup. Like things are breaking down, more possibilities are happening. Things that weren't possible before are becoming possible. And I just think things are going to be naturally weirder because of it.
That's basically like the Terrence McKenna like ideology.
Yeah, it's not just like because it's not just culture though. Like I think it could be like a bunch of things aligning. You know what I mean? It could be a pole shift with other celestial alignments. It could be anything. It could be so much. It could be some like giant crystal that's at the center of the earth that's like rotating in a certain way. It could be anything that we don't know about. By
Could
just
be Planet X.
could be Planet X coming. Yeah, it could be. Whatever it is, it's making chaos more prevalent. It's making more things happen, and like there's less rules now. The rules are being broken down by other things that we're finding. Until we're just like, well, shit, anything's possible. Literally anything's possible.
That makes sense. I mean, honestly, yeah, I'm definitely I'm at that point. They basically talk about how there's Martians. There's like a few different things. So this section is called Our Creators. It's pretty interesting, honestly, dude.
We're gonna be muted for a minute, but just keep going.
Yeah. So this is by this guy. This is from this book. It's the chapter Earth History. From the book. Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are. Now, my discussion will drop back 400,000 years in our history. Here I will incorporate information from both Thoth and researcher and author Zachariah Sitchin, sorry. In particular, Sitchin's books, The 12th Planet and Genesis Revisited. Sitchin believes that there is another planet in our solar system, the Sumerian Nibiru, which has an elliptical orbit similar to that of a comet. It takes 3,600 years for the planet to make one complete circle of the sun. The people on this planet, called the Nephilim, came to Earth more than 400,000 years ago. Thoth doesn't say why. In fact, he never mentioned the Nephilim by name. He only told Drunvalo that there were giants on the Earth at the time. Now, for anyone that, just for a little bit of context, this guy Drunvalo is, he was this guy that was, I guess, like a psychic who was like doing research, and I guess his professor or something like that disappeared, and he got like a vision of an Egyptian god named Thoth. And you might even be able to tell me better about that story, but that's the gist of it that I got. And it seemed like it was like a visionary quest that he encountered a lot of like universal truths on. At least that's what I got out of it. He only told Drimvala that there were giants on the earth at the time. The Nephilim range from 10 to 16 feet in height. Sitchin claims the reason they came was that they needed gold for their atmosphere. In Genesis Revisited, he writes, on their planet Nibiru, the Anunnaki / Nephilim were facing a situation we on Earth may also soon face. Ecological deterioration was making life increasingly impossible. There was a need to protect their dwindling atmosphere, and the only solution seemed to be to suspend gold particles above it as a shield. Now, to anyone listening, does that sound awfully familiar? That sounds almost like what they're trying to do right now, actually, by putting silver particles in the air, if I'm not mistaken.
Isn't that the Satan project?
It is, and it's pretty, and that's actually what it's called. For anyone listening that doesn't believe, that's what it's called. It's a real British weather manipulation thing that they're just releasing recently, and it's crazy. But it's there. I think the idea is they want to spray particulates of either aerosols or silver particles, but I thought it was silver particles. I thought that somewhere they were talking about that and putting it in the air in order to combat.
I saw this meme. It was referencing some figure from history, from American history, I think. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but I thought it was interesting because his quote was essentially like something I've only just come to the realization of.
What is it?
He was pretty much just warning people that the church, our government, like everything, like every religion, they're actually all practicing Kabbalic mysticism, and that's what they actually worship in secret.
I mean, I thought that was just already like the case anyways. I thought that was already going on.
We didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that for a fact. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy to think that our whole government practices Judaic religious magic. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, Judaic. I thought you were just, I might have missed that part.
The Kabbalah is
No, I didn't hear Kabbalah. All right, I get what yeah. I just thought you meant mysticism because I know that they do practice occult magic throughout like the government. Like that's definitely like a thing. Like we all know that. Like look at Jack Parsons.
Shit I looked into, shit that I had been like already practicing. Like this shit is tied to Kabbalic mysticism. And I'm not saying that's evil outright, but maybe there's like some weird truth to it. They're hiding this information like the priests in history have always done. They always hide this information from the masses, and they'll ridicule you for thinking about something so crazy, even though they're doing it in secret. It's kind of fucked up. It's kind of really fucked up.
It's like we were talking about earlier with the with like having a gun, and different people will just use it a different kind of way.
Yeah. No, for sure. Kind of reminds me, I didn't get the same full feeling, but it reminds me of like a mushroom trip epiphany. Where you're like, oh wow, so this whole time they've all been knowing this and they've all been in on it, and I just didn't know. Whoa, because I had a similar feeling when I was doing when I first like had a real nice, good, mind altering trip. I had this feeling the whole time. I'm like, everybody knew that this is what the world is actually like. It's hard to describe. It was almost like everybody
experienced that thing that you're experiencing, and it's like you're on that wavelength now. You're on that connection. I get what you mean. I felt that too the first time I tripped.
There's also like a religious. We used to look at magic as being like this goofy thing, and then religion is like, most of people believe in magic, that's crazy. But then like when you come to magic from outside of religion, and then you finally get to look at religion again and like, well, yeah, they just kind of like, that's just their belief. And then you think about it like, well, if I'm getting like results from this, are they getting results? And they are getting results. That's crazy that there's just like, it's all schools of magic. They're really strict,
So you remember I was telling you that I had this idea for like a theory I was working on about like a unified field of consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people have thought about this, but I was like relating it to AI and stuff like that, and how AI works as like a learning like thing. I was basically trying to relate AI to, or the universe to being like one big AI, where chaos theory is essentially just the runaway AI, and what it's learning comes through and out of chaos theory, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the things though that I thought of, or I was reading about, that could be like the case, is that all world religions, if there is like a unified field of consciousness, technically every religion you can think of is technically true.
Yeah.
It's like in Guardians of the Galaxy when Rocket like goes to like heaven, but then you see that there's also in Moon Knight, you see that there's an Egyptian afterlife, and then you see like in other ones there's ghosts. You know what I mean? It's like in the MCU there's like 20 different like afterlives, but there's only one death. And if you think about that, that's probably kind of how reality is. Like if we all have like a unified field of consciousness where we adapt into that kind of wavelength, like that would mean that our brains are technically on like a mental wavelength that attaches itself to this consciousness, to like the universe essentially. All these people that worship something like Jesus Christ or Buddha, or don't worship anything at all, they're all attaching themselves to a certain wavelength. And like, let's say when they die, their soul might go to where they want it to go. They might go to the place that they, were worshiping throughout their life, because that's a part of the unified field of consciousness, so to speak. Like they'll soup into an afterlife of their choosing, because they'll mold into all the people that they love, but they'll also mold into their own views of the afterlife. So everyone technically will have like a different view of the afterlife, but it'll all be the same but different, if that makes sense. That's what I think is like could be the case if like our soul is connected to like the universe in this sense. And that would mean that no religions are right, but no religions are wrong, because everybody would experience something religiously. Well, I guess what I was trying to get out of this though is that any occult practice lends itself, like if this universal consciousness is a thing, any occult practice or any intention even remotely is going to bring that energy and that chaos and that just that energy into the universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any form of intention at all, it's going to mold your reality. So they came here to mine gold.
I mean, it makes sense.
After 200,000 years or so of enforced labor, the miners rebelled and decided to create a subservient race, which to us, to mine the gold for them. It is notable that in southern Africa, the oldest known gold mines, archaeologists have found the bones of Homo sapiens and artifacts that go back at least 50,000 to 100,000 years. Sitchin asserts that the Nephilim created us about 300,000 years ago, but Thoth is very exact. Thoth says we were created exactly 200,239 years ago from 2023. Sitchin theorized that the Nephilim created us through genetic experiments, but according to Thoth, they couldn't do it alone. They had to have help from outside the solar system. That external help came from a familiar source. The Nephilim first landed in the ocean and emerged as half men and half fish. They were underwater initially to make contact with the dolphins and the whales, who were and remain to this day the highest levels of consciousness on the planet. They had to check in and get permission to do what they wanted to do. The dolphins and whales came here from the third planet out from Sirius B. There is a small humanoid population on this mostly water planet, but the majority of the inhabitants are cetacean. As we shall soon see, the Syrians played a co-creative role in our creation process. So in essence, the
Can I just say,
Nephilim...
I'm not knocking this, but this is where the shit gets whacked. That's insane.
Yeah, well,
We believe that octopi and like things like that are actually aliens, or like that's something that people believe. That's something that some scientists think might be true.
you
No
know what
one's
I
thinking
think is
about.
interesting?
Nobody thinks that about dolphins and whales because we see
Yep.
the evolutionary line.
You're right, but what about the fact that dolphins have a consciousness that is so beyond our level of understanding? Like the CIA and John C. Lilly did experiments with them in LSD in like the 60s and found out that like dolphins were like these super intelligent creatures that like were far beyond our like understanding of anything. Like they have like a super intelligence. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The John C. Lilly dolphin experiments.
I don't know, but specifically about that, but I know how advanced dolphins are.
So this was the guy that discovered them. He actually he used to do experiments for the CIA, and he's like a major counterculture icon, even though he also was like in bed with the
But he
CIA.
did awful things to those dolphins.
Yeah, I don't who maybe, but it seemed like he was a pretty interesting guy.
I bet he kissed those dolphins.
During World War II, Lilly researched physiology of high altitude flying and invented instruments for measuring gas pressure. After the war, he trained in psychoanalysis at the University of Pennsylvania, where he began researching the physical structures of the brain and consciousness. In 1951, he published a paper showing of how he could display patterns of brain electrical activity on a cathode ray display screen using electrodes he devised specifically for insertion into a living brain. Furthermore, Lilly's work on electrical stimulation of the nervous system gave rise to biphasic charge, balanced electrical stimulation pulses, later known as Lilly's wave or Lilly's pulses, now an established approach to design of a safe electrical stimulation in neuroprosthetics. In the 60s, he sponsored research on human-animal communication with a dolphin. In 1953, Lilly began a job studying neurophysiology with the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Officer Corps at the NIMH in 1954. This is why Joe Rogan loves this guy, by the way. With the aim of isolating a brain from external stimulation, he devised the first isolation tank, a dark, soundproof tank of warm salt water in which subjects could float for long periods in sensory isolation. Lilly and a research colleague were the first subjects of this research. What had been known as perceptual isolation or sensory deprivation was reconceptualized as restricted environmental stimulation technique, or REST. Lilly later studied other large brain mammals, and during the late 50s, he established a facility devoted to fostering human-dolphin communication, the Communication Research Institute on St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. During the early 60s, Lilly and co-workers published several papers reporting that dolphins could mimic human speech patterns. Lilly was interested in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence project. In 1961, a group of scientists, including Lilly, gathered at the Green Bank Observatory to discuss the possibility of using techniques of radio astronomy to detect evidence of intelligent life outside the solar system. They called themselves the Order of the Dolphin after Lilly's work with dolphins. They discussed the Drake equation and used to estimate the number of communicative civilizations in our galaxy. So I think this right here is where he goes into it. In the early 60s, Lilly was introduced to psychedelic drugs such as LSD and began a series of experiments in which he ingested a psychedelic drug either in an isolation tank or in the company of dolphins. These events are described in his books Programming and Metaprogramming in the Human Biocomputer, published in 1968, and The Center of the Cyclone, published in 1972. Following advice from Ram Dass, Lilly studied Palanjali's system of yoga, including K. Tamini's Science of Yoga, modernized interpretation of the Sanskrit text most suited to his goals. He also paid special attention to self-inquiry meditation advocated by Ramana Maharshi and reformulated the principles of the exercise with reference to his human biocomputer paradigm. And Lilly, 1972. Lilly later traveled to Chile and trained with the spiritual leader Oscar Icazo, whose attitude to metaphysical consciousness exploration Lilly characterizes as empirical. Lilly wrote that he had achieved the maximum degree of Satori Samadhi consciousness during his training. Lilly's maxim, in the province of the mind, what one believes to be true either is true or becomes true within true limits. These limits are to be found experimentally and experientially. When so found, these limits turn out to be further beliefs to be transcended. In the province of the mind, there are no limits. However, in the province of the body, there are definite limits not to be transcended. Interesting. In 1974, Lilly's research using various psychoactive drugs led him to believe in the existence of a certain hierarchical group of cosmic entities, the lowest of which he later dubbed Earth Coincidence Control Office. In an autobiography published jointly with his wife Antonetta, often called Tony, Lilly states that there exists a cosmic coincidence control center with a galactic substation called Galactic Coincidence Control. Within GCC is the Solar System Control Unit. Within each, the Earth Coincidence Control Office. Wow. This dude was wild. Did you hear all that shit? Holy shit. So yeah, the dolphins are real special. The Nephilim went to southern Africa to mine gold because they needed to shoot it into their atmosphere. Thoth said that there were giants and that they became our mother. He said that 7 of these beings dropped their bodies and formed spheres of consciousness. They merged into the seed of life and created an ovum. This is, I think, what you said was where it was getting crazy. When 7 beings linked together geometrically in this way to form the seed of life, a flame appears, 4 feet tall, and a bluish white light. It is cool but looks like a flame. This is one set in the halls of Amenti. The halls of Amenti is a very ancient place built more than 5.5 million years ago. No one knows how old the halls of Amenti really are, or who erected them because of that event 5.5 million years ago that broke the Akashic records of the planet. What this was basically describing too, I think I go over that part, but it said that the reason why dolphins and whales were so special in, like, I guess, is because they retained their consciousness over the periods of time that we've experienced pole shifts and magnetic shifts or whatever on the planet. Supposedly, like every time, like we talked about this when we went over the plasma apocalypse. Supposedly, every time that like we go through like a pole shift or our whole planetary axis is thrown off. Apparently, like our entire consciousness gets wiped, or our memory, our universal like memory gets wiped out completely. So we all essentially like revert back consciously to like children. We don't act the evolved people that we've become. So it says the halls of Amenti is actually a dimensional warp in space. There's only one way in, but once you get in, there's like a being in infinite space. Such a warp sits only one dimensionally overtone higher than the vibrational level of Earth. It is located usually 440,000 miles out in space, but during the era of Atlantis, it was on the surface of the Earth. Now it is 1,000 miles inside the Earth. Simultaneous.
Is this still according to a psychic?
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So this psychic was talking to Thoth, and this is what he apparently told him. Simultaneous preparation for this creation or transemination. Well, I should also state that this is half the psychic. This is like the information that the psychic found out from Thoth, and also like Zachariah Sitchin's notes, basically like combined. Simultaneous preparation for this creation or transemination was being made on Sirius B, or more precisely, the 3rd planet out from Sirius B. 16 males and 16 females who comprise a married family there traveled to Earth from Sirius B and went directly to the flame in the halls of Amenti. They laid down and merged with the flame. Their conception period here was 2,000 years. These 2 separate races were involved in our creation, one from Nibiru and one from Sirius. Thoth said that we were originally placed on an island off the coast of southwestern Africa called Gondwanland, and that we were placed there primarily so we could not leave. We were 50,000 to 70,000 years. From there, we were brought to southern Africa. Interestingly enough, African creation stories all agree on one piece of information. They all say that we came from an island off the southwestern coast of Africa called Gondwanland. Interesting to know. According to Sitchin's interpretation of the Sumerian text in the 12th planet, after the Nephilim created us to work in the gold mines of Africa, some of us were brought to Mesopotamia to help in the gardens in Eden. The gods loved us because, after all, we were made in their image, but in the garden in Eden, it just says Eden, not Eden, where the Nephilim had their orchards, we were told not to eat the fruit of a certain tree called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You guys all know that story if you're familiar. The records specifically mention Adam and Eve by name, and they disobeyed eating this fruit and gaining knowledge. So this is, talking about like Bible stuff and Adam and Eve, Sitchin interprets the Sumerian text as saying that modern humans are a cross between the Nephilim and Homo erectus, the predecessor of Homo sapiens. It is through thought that we get additional information about the role of the beings from Sirius. Not surprisingly, the Nephilim did not want us reproducing. They wanted to maintain control of their own experiment. The knowledge we gained from eating the fruit was not scientific as such. It was the knowledge of how to procreate, how to turn ourselves from sterile hybrids into a new species fully capable of reproducing. The Nephilim were angry when we gained the ability to reproduce, and they especially didn't want us eating from the other tree. a tree of life. That would have made us immortal, essentially, I guess, passing our gene along. So they made us leave the garden. According to scholars of ancient texts, Sumerian records precede the biblical records, and the biblical creation stories seem to be a summary of old Sumerian texts. Although we had to leave their garden, the Nephilim allowed us to grow food on our own. We went to the mountainous area east of the gardens in Mesopotamia. So at that point, there were two versions of humans, those who could procreate and were free, and those who were hybrids and were gold mining slaves. According to Thoth, it remained that way for a long time. But when there was a big shift in consciousness and another pole shift, and Gondwana land sank, those of the Adam and Eve lineage went to Lemuria, a land that rose above the water when the other continent sank. Again, this is all from a book, so if anybody has any issues with it, it's talk to Bob Frisell.
Hold on, they went to where?
Lemuria. Isn't Lemuria?
So Lemuria,
Atlantis?
whenever I hear Lemuria in conspiracy talk, I think from me looking into it, isn't that like the most BS of all supernatural mysterious islands?
Well, I thought Lemuria was just a continent of Atlantis.
I think Lemuria, like the name itself, was just like meant to refer to something else entirely.
I don't know.
There was like lemurs found in Africa or I think it was Africa or a different part of Africa, and then the same lemurs are in India. Somebody said maybe there used to be an island in between the two or something, and it's like underwater now. I think that was the idea.
Well, this was supposed to be in the Hawaiian Islands. Like the continent of Lemuria was really a series of islands that extended from the Hawaiian Islands to the Easter Island.
Look it up. Look up Lemuria.
I mean, that's what it's saying, but
I could have sworn it was India in Africa.
Lemuria, a hypothetical, now discredited, lost continent primarily associated with the Indian and Pacific Oceans.
I guess it could extend to Hawaii if it's connected to the Pacific.
That's what I was thinking.
I think it's tied between India and somewhere else. I thought it was Africa.
I'll show you on the stream real quick. It definitely extends to like Hawaii and shit. It's huge. It's honestly where the giant landmass should be. That should be like an extra continent. Like if we were gonna add another continent, like this would be like prime real estate for where it would go.
Yeah. You know what would be really cool?
What's up?
You ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
You know the giant sea lion, the turtle lion?
I only watched like the first season and I barely remember it.
What?
Yeah.
So I think it's in the last season, but maybe it's the second to last season. I think it's the last season. He has like this thing calling to him. It's like calling to his spirit, something, and he's like looking for it. And he finds this island, but the island is actually a giant sea turtle, but it's like a lion sea turtle.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's sentient, and it helps him like unlock some of his abilities that he has. But how cool would it be if like that giant like thing that's in the Pacific Ocean is a giant creature that's just gonna like surface, but it's so big that's like slow motion for us. So everything it does takes forever.
So when you say
And
that
honest-
giant thing do you mean what we're talking about, like Lemuria, or do you mean that thing that we saw was moving underwater?
Both.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't remember, we talked about it in a previous episode. There was something in the Pacific that was moving underwater in a very weird way. It wasn't that
Massive.
big though. There's a massive one.
There's a massive one, the underwater anomaly, not the one that's near the Bermuda Triangle, but the Pacific one.
You're not talking about the Baltic anomaly, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, because that's pretty tiny.
All I'm saying though is like imagine this thing rises out of the sea. It's massive. We see it rise very slowly over generations, and everything it does is super slow. It's like the size of think like the size of Australia, maybe a little bit smaller.
The size of Australia, that's huge.
I know. It's exactly. And it does move around, but very slowly. So that's how it connected things. Is that like it used to be next to India, but then it slowly made its way further out into the Pacific or whatever. But imagine it rises and we start finding like ruins on its back.
Oh, that would be sick.
Right?
In many different ways.
Right?
That would be awesome. That'd be sick.
That would be really, really awesome. Please happen.
Please happen. That would change everything.
Everybody needs to hyper-fixate on this in their conscious, everyday, awake, aware life. And
yeah.
anytime you're just like daydreaming about something, just slip it in there. Make it something that's like constantly on your mind so that it's allowed to enter our reality. If we all just accept that this can happen, it will. So just let's all prepare.
Dude, that's hilarious. So basically, you're asking our audience to consciously manifest a giant anomaly in the ocean rising up with ancient ruins on it.
Yeah, that's also a creature.
That's also a creature. Okay, I'm down with that. Everybody, if you are listening to this, please, get down with that.
Just think about it. Just think about how cool it'd be, the information that could be attained from it, and think about how we're trying to like get this thing moving along already. You know what I mean? We need something like this to get moving along, get something to happen that's not awful. I'm sure it'll be dangerous and scary. It's going to disrupt a lot of trade routes. I'm sure there's going to be some islands nearby that are going to be terrified.
Terrified.
Let's also think about it optimistically, send up positive energy with it, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be a giant sea turtle lion turtle.
A sea lion, a giant sea lion, just one of those really cool fish.
Yeah. No. It's got to be a turtle. Got to be some sort of, what is it? Gamora? No, what's the turtle from Godzilla?
That's I think it starts with a G. It's not Ghidorah
Me
though.
too.
It's
I thought it was Gamora or something.
I think you're right. I think it is. Oh, I just came up to an Italian TV show.
Just look up Godzilla turtle.
Godzilla. Oh, Gamora's a different one. Gamora's like some kind of weird anti Godzilla.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure it is a G though. Oh no, we're wrong. It's Kamibus is his name, and Turtle in Underwater is his game.
Cool.
Yeah, Kamibus.
Wouldn't that be cute if it just started over the course of like 40 years, started surfacing?
Oh wait. You're right.
What?
It's Gamera. Gamora's a different one. Gamera.
Gamera.
You're right. All right, yeah, that would be cool. Let's all hope for that. Since we're not too into the Lemuria thing, let's skip right over that. Basically, Lemurians created ascension and immortality and tried to teach it, and then all died. They migrated to a zone as far south as Lake Titicaca, apparently, and as north as Mount Shasta, and became a lot of the indigenous people. Atlantis, as Lemuria sank, the poles shifted, and the landmass of Atlantis arose. 1,000 or so immortal masters of the Nakal Mystery School of Lemuria went to Atlantis, so that's fun.
Our boys, immortal boys from the Mystery School.
Our immortal boys from the Mystery School. Specifically to one of its 10 islands to the north called Unal. When they arrived, the first thing they did was build a wall right down the middle of the island from north to south. This wall, which was about 40 feet high and 20 feet wide, sealed off both sides so you could not cross from one to the other. Next, these beings of light erected a smaller wall from east to west, thereby dividing the island into 4 quadrants. This structure replicates the human brain, which is divided into 4 hemispheres, with the corpus callosum running down the middle. The left hemisphere, the male side, is based on logic. The right hemisphere, the female side, is based on experience or intuition. But the male side also has a female or experiential aspect associated with it, and the female side has a male or logical component. These are the 4 quadrants of the human brain. When they had completed the division of their island, half of the masters went to one side and the other halves went to the other side. The masters on the left side became the logical or male component, while the ones on the right side became the intuitive or female part of the brain. They carried this out to the point that after a few thousand years, it came time to choose 3 people to be the corpus callosum, to link to left and right hemispheres, and in so doing, the brain of Atlantis became alive. And then this brain projected onto the main island the 10 patterns of the Tree of Life, so that this vortex of energy, or vortices of energy, began to rotate out to these 10 spots and summon the Lemurians to Atlantis. Each person was drawn to the specific vortex that was associated with his or her true nature. The Lemurians who had settled from Lake Titicaca to Mount Shasta didn't know why, but they suddenly felt the need to migrate to Atlantis. They were drawn there by the energy vortex created by the immortal masters. Unfortunately, the evolutionary pattern of Lemuria was such that they had only developed the nature of 8 to 10 vortices associated with the Tree of Life. The Lemurians migrated to 8 of these 10 spots, which became major cities, but the remaining 2 vortices were left vacant. This is where a big problem first began. The vacant energy vortices ended up pulling in 2 extraterrestrial races that then joined in our human consciousness and became part of our evolutionary pattern. I'm gonna cut out this part because this part is a little touchy. Specifically, these beings came from Mars. Not the Mars that we know or that existed then, but the Mars of approximately 1 million years ago. At that time, it was a beautiful planet, totally alive, not dead in the way it has become. But the inhabitants were suffering from, and in fact, the planet was being destroyed by the effects of a Lucifer rebellion, stimulated by the same type of sickness we would later encounter on Earth. But the Martian problem was not created by Lucifer himself, rather from a similar type of character. I'll call this general problem the Lucifer rebellion, even though Lucifer himself was involved in the most recent upheaval only. So yeah, it gets into a little bit of like God shit there, but honestly, a lot of this stuff is pretty interesting. For anyone who's curious about this this character Thoth, for any of you all who don't
This
know about
Thoth guy.
this Thoth guy, you know, you want to know about Thoth.
This guy thothing around.
He's Thothing around. So Thoth is a specific historical man who went through ascension 52,000 years ago. For 16,000 years, he was the king of Atlantis, where his name was Chikatet Arlik Vomalites. He remained on Earth in the same body until May 4th, 1991, according to this book. He could have left earlier, most ascended masters have, but he was among a small group who decided to stay, knowing without any doubt whatsoever that all things are interconnected and that there is one spirit that moves through everything. Thoth preferred to remain here as a teacher. I don't know about that left Earth in May 4th, 1991, but it's all pretty interesting. Apparently he was a king of Egypt too, though, right? Wasn't he one of the gods of Egypt, Thoth?
Thoth is one of the gods of Egypt.
Oh, here it is. Was introducing writing to the planet. He was called the scribe in Egypt. Okay, that makes sense.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know which god he was, but I knew he was one of them.
Yeah, he was the god of writing and like knowledge, and math, and shit like that.
That makes sense. I thought he was the god of knowledge. Writing makes sense.
And he has a bird head.
Ah. Oh, wait a minute. Is that
Now
the...
you know.
Wait. Yeah, I do know him. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Thoth, dude. That's Thoth.
Yeah, I know. Shit. Okay.
The first incarnation of Hermes Trismegistus.
Yeah. Well, when you said bird head, I was like, okay. So this guy, Karl Monk, and the code of Karl Monk and ancient gematrian numbers. Ancient sites around the world are very precisely positioned on a global coordinate system in relation to the position of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The position of the sites are given in geometry of their construction. A very ancient system of numbers was used in the system which we call gematria. The Nazca line ground markings locate themselves on the code matrix system. Would this be what we call ley line?
Perhaps.
So one of the things that this was talking about earlier that I didn't read, but it was in the same chapter. It was about how the pyramids do have structures below them. It's actually funny. This book predates us finding out about the Caffrey structures and everything. It talks about how there's structures underneath the pyramid, and if we go deep into it, there might even be like a whole city underneath the pyramid. And people have said that before, you know. We all know that.
We all know this to be true.
Yeah, we all know that this is true, that there's ancient cities underneath the pyramid. We don't even got to get into it. It's interesting, you know?
Waste time thinking about it, wondering about it, when we could just know it.
Yeah, this is like Elisa Lam. Everybody knows Elisa Lam went up in that hotel, and everybody, you know, did you know, I just found this out recently, that people, when the Elisa Lam thing happened, like people were starting to develop like tuberculosis or something like that in the hotel. Like they were all getting
awful.
like, yeah, they were getting like seriously like sick, like pneumonia or something like that. And that's how they found out. Yeah. One of these days, to everyone listening, we're going to do an entire episode about Elisa Lam. Just kidding. I'm not going to do that.
Why not?
You said in one of the episodes, you were like, no, everybody knows Elisa Lam.
Why not, dude?
We don't got to talk about Elisa Lam. And then I kept bringing her
I
up
don't know
again.
what you're talking about. That must have been somebody else.
That wasn't the anti-host. I forgot. That was Libra. But yeah, that's some interesting shit right there. For anyone curious about one of the potential, ways that we might have been created or whatever. Did we talk much about like, I don't know. I was going to talk about like the Heaven's Gate cult.
What about them?
What are your thoughts? I was thinking about him recently, and like a lot of the people that think that there's like aliens are gonna come back and save us and yada yada, they end up being a part of these like doomsday cults and all that shit. And it makes sense, but at the same time, it's just like, why kill yourself if you're gonna prepare? Like if you agree that you're like a lot of these that may I don't know. I think I'm getting into the wrong territory right now.
It just has to do with like we talk about all the time. Like these beings are interdimensional or they're ethereal, and they don't even have like physical forms. Like sometimes they're even just like thought beings. Like they're beings that are like that's how not physical they are.
So these people think that they're going to merge with these beings when they
yeah,
die,
like they
basically.
think that that's what like souls are. Souls are like essentially
Yeah.
interdimensional, intergalactic entities, including human souls, and that they're just like freeing themselves. And the only way to like travel with these people and be saved is to shed your physical mortal form to go with the ethereal form that they don't even know that they have for sure, but they believe that they have.
You want to hear an interesting theory?
Yeah.
So this is one I thought that, maybe we could look into a little bit. This is a random Reddit post that somebody copy and pasted. It's an archive blog post about Jim Carrey being a serial killer. How's that
Interesting.
sound?
Well, that's stemming from his girlfriend dying, right?
There's a few things. Apparently, this gets really deep into it. Too Long didn't read if the ex-wife whom lives in Los Angeles of the person who's listed working as facility management at a restaurant called the Cortland Club in Providence, Rhode Island, visually IDs him as the man she divorced, that I'm crazy. If she says that's not him, then I'm correct. That 7 homicide crime scenes are masqueraded as either suicide or murder-suicide. So this guy's saying that there's 7 homicides that are connected to this guy who may or may not be Jim Carrey, allegedly. Want to get into it?
Yeah.
Zane Clavery is not, quote, facility management at the Cortland Club. Now, everybody keep in mind, this is not me. This could just be some ravings of some madman.
No, you told me this the other week.
Yeah, I told you this the other week. Guys, I sent this to you. This was my my synopsis of You, Me, and Irene, remember?
You told me that you just saw that documentary, the number 23.
The number 23, that documentary. Yeah. That kind of fits with this. It kind of does.
Yeah.
This is not his LinkedIn account. It was made by the former MTV Catfish co-host, daughter of history's most unforgivable serial killer. Under his orders, Frozen Ass College, quote, is probably a clue to his true state of existence. The defunct MySpace with the name Zane Clavery Lives was likely created in slight of language. Zane Clavery was the son of Charles, history's most unforgivable serial killer and third and most vindictive murderer. Zane Clavery does not exist. History's most unforgivable serial killer believes he's the only one, since he murdered and vanished Zane. Besides the daughter he's forced into being an accomplice to his murders that knows this. So again, a lot of this could be the ramblings of a madman, but it gets deep. Lacking any verified physical location of Zane Clavery. And I looked it up. You can find Zane Clavery's MySpace as Zane Clavery Lives. So if anyone wants to look it up, you can find it. Will legitimize everything I'm presenting as the real evidence it's been the whole time. A surprise welfare check by the authorities for Zane Clavery at that Cortland Club joint will prove the existence of history's most unforgivable serial killer, whom everyone believes is Hollywood's favorite rubber-faced wacky man. I love how they describe him. Because there's an
waggy man.
Wacky man.
Wacky man.
Hey, I'm wacky.
I got a rubber face.
I got a rubber face. Ooh, I'm the mask. Boing. I'm the liar. Boing. I talk to animals. It's in this roller coaster novel-length post calling out Jim Carrey as history's most unforgivable serial killer. I believe this is Zane Clavery. Zane Clavery had an ex-wife, Cynthia, who kept her married last name. She can't confirm whether that's Zane in the previous image or link or who Providence PD presents claiming to be Zane Clavery. Whoever Providence PD shows her will not be the person she divorced, I guarantee. I'd love for someone to challenge me on this because this would once and for all prove whether I'm out of my mind or not. Once she gives, this guy clearly is like getting deep into this rabbit hole. Once she gives her answer, this person should be compared to the person Ed Honauer from Cranston, Rhode Island. knows from the Providence noise scene. Each Zane Clevrier will be different. In this whole godforsaken dissemination, I'll be saying the numbers 2 and 3 a lot. Peep this art. And note the
Are you
timestamp
serious?
of 3:02 a.m.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
he said that. He said this. I'm going to say
Oh
later
my
on in
God.
this post that Zane's death is a flip on the motive for history's most sick homicide, in case it's sanitized. Now, I want to tell all the viewers that a lot of people were like in the comments saying either this guy's schizophrenic or he's on to something. Keep that in mind. Let's pretend to be Zane Clavery, son of an actor who professionally went by the name Charles Rocket, that was found dead, that was ruled as a self-inflicted knife wound across the throat. You're in mourning over your father's death from such a grisly manner and wish to cheer yourself up by reminiscing his life by choosing to watch Dumb and Dumber, one of his most known performances where he played the bad guy. You watch this moment. That's odd. The guy who lost the spot in Saturday Night Live to your father back in 1980, a fact your father told you more than once, just spoke a line with his character saying he watched a guy get his throat slit in a movie. You dismiss this as an unfortunate coincidental line in the script and tell yourself you're crazy for even considering what you just considered. Did you just hear that?
What?
In Dumb and
Say that again?
Dumber, apparently Jim Carrey says, and then later on, this guy's throat ends up slit. And this guy told his kid apparently that he actually beat Jim Carrey to be host of SNL back in 1980.
Is that even true?
Hey, maybe it is or maybe it isn't. Interesting.
He would be
to
on.
know.
He would be on SNL. What are you talking about? So is this saying that like, what I don't even know what this is saying honestly. Like it's saying that Jim Carrey. Obviously, it's trying to get at that Jim Carrey's a serial killer, but there's somebody else named Zane who they think is a serial killer.
No, I think this guy Zane is either like the son of somebody that got killed. Charles Rocket. That's the guy that they're talking about. He was a cast member of Saturday Night Live and played the villain Nicholas Andre in the film Dumb and Dumber. He died October 7th, 2005. He was found dead in a field on his Connecticut property on October 7th with his throat slit. He was 56 years old. 10 days later,
Whoa.
the state medical examiner ruled the death as a suicide. The police
What?
investigation determined that there was no criminal aspect to the case.
Nobody slits their own throat, right? Like, who actually does that?
No, nobody does that. Except for Jeffrey Epstein. He would have done that.
Yeah, something he would do.
That's something he would do.
Something he would do is not talk to a lot of people, not have a lot of friends, not kill himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, whoops.
Well, I'm gonna look up that scene and see if I can find it where Jim Carrey is telling him that he's gonna slit his throat.
So he's like mad at this guy that this guy got SNL and not him,
Yeah.
and he just kills him like many years later. I'm confused. Also, did he get SNL like around the same time Jim Carrey was trying to get it, or was he just like, was it a different time period entirely?
It was afterwards. So this is what I'm kind of getting out of the story so far is that so Jim Carrey basically didn't like this guy because he felt like he probably would have gotten like famous quicker, or at least this is what I'm
Not for
I'm
him.
like, yeah, if not for this guy because he beat him out on SNL, and this guy ended up having like a fallout with SNL. So maybe he thought that he would have gotten further with it. Because remember, Jim Carrey ended up being on In Living Color, I think, right? Isn't that the one?
Yeah.
So maybe he felt like SNL could have been like his big break that In Living Color wasn't, even though In Living Color was his big break, really. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
I thought he loves In Living Color.
He does. But maybe he felt like some resentment still because, 1980, if that's when he got beat out, that was years before his career, took off. That was like, I think, what was his earliest movie? It was Earth Girls Are Easy. When did Earth Girls Are Easy come out?
I don't know.
Let me look it up real quick. Earth Girls Are Easy. 1988. So that's 8 years after he would have been on SNL. So think of how much time he probably was in Hollywood thinking about how shitty his life is and how he just, this other dude just wrecked his whole life and that he would have gotten his big break earlier. And think of how psychotic that Jim Carrey may or may not be just based on all of his mannerisms. That's, I think, everything that this person's saying so far. I guess it's funny too because I looked up the part that he was. Did you watch that scene?
No, go ahead.
Oh, Jim Carrey mentions to Lloyd. I forget which one's Lloyd and which one's the other one. Harry's the other one. So when Lloyd was talking to Harry, when Jim Carrey was talking to the other dude, he basically was like, he was talking about a movie or something like that, and he was asking him how the movie went, and he said that he took the guy down the road and he slit his throat or something like that, and it basically was like a big it was like a real weird part of the movie. All right, yeah, no worries. But that's exactly what happens, and Jim Carrey just laughs, and the other guy just looks at him like, "What the fuck?" But it's funny. It's not that guy that he says it to, but it's weird that that's in the script, and then later on, the guy ends up dying suspiciously from a knife wound to the throat, in the exact same way that Jim Carrey says that in his character in the same movie that dude's in. Weird shit.
Yeah, but Jim Carrey wouldn't do any of this. We all know him very well and love him.
Yeah, we all know him as the best Riddler.
We all know him as that guy who didn't kill his girlfriend. So how could he kill other people if he didn't kill his girlfriend?
Yeah, the
You know?
dude did. Well, how could he kill his girlfriend? Because then he can't lie about it, and he has to say yes to everything.
True.
He never lies. He has to say yes to everything. I mean, maybe somebody told him to kill his girlfriend, and he had to say yes.
I mean, it could just be that somebody asked him a question, and saying no would have been the truth, but he has to say yes. So, but he also can't lie, and then that just sends him into a violent, murderous rage.
So every single murder except for the first one was just because he couldn't say no about the first one.
Exactly.
And every subsequent murder was just him not being able to say no. That's hilarious. I don't even want to finish this theory, but it's kind of interesting. It goes on a little bit about some shit, but yeah, apparently Jim Carrey might be a serial killer. Who knows? But wouldn't it be? It kind of would be interesting if Jim Carrey was a serial killer, because think about how like outside of Hollywood he tries to be. Like he's very against like the riffraff of Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If anything, what this theory could even be is like a smear against him, or someone trying to discredit him or something like that.
It's Scientology.
Is that who he's against? He's against Scientology?
I don't know, but Scientology just kind of like they only like Scientologists.
Yeah. I don't even know what Jim Carrey actually likes.
But that's also some like weird, sneaky, conniving little thing Scientology would do. It's just like create up lies about people to like smear them.
Yeah, I don't know why Scientology does that.
They're vindictive, but also controlling.
Because they're vindictive. Yeah, that's definitely the truth. We love Scientology here, and you know, we want to make sure that they do what they got to do, right?
Right.
But yeah, that should be in the next hard truth. How much we love Scientology. But yeah, L. Ron Hubbard was on to something. I don't know. I think it's weird. If Jim Carrey is a serial killer, then it would make a lot of sense. But if Jim Carrey's not a serial killer and these are just people trying to like smear him, that would also make sense.
I think it's just also likely that kind of already believe that reality is made in a way where like George Lucas style everything rhymes. That like that's just how reality is, and not that like that isn't important. Like it's very crazy and almost supernatural how that is.
So wait, what do you mean by what do you mean in everything rhymes? So in this case, do you mean like that guy could have just got like killed himself with the knife throat thing for some?
Well, he could have been murdered still.
Yeah, and it could have just totally been unrelated to Jim
Yeah.
Carrey. It could have just been like what's the word? Not just a coincidence, but there's like a specific like kind of like Murphy's Law. There's like a thing like basically like this was something like I kind of is Murphy's Law. This was something that could happen, so it did happen. It's just kind of so on the nose. I like how we didn't even read the rest of this. We just read that one part, and we're in like a big discussion about like the possibility that he's a serial killer. I mean, who knows?
No, it's not us.
No, we don't know shit. We're broadcasting you the signal, and you're picking it up. And this is As the World Burns.
I can't wait for like when science finally progresses to the point where we can communicate with the dead, and we can just
that'll
start
be
asking
cool.
dead people who murdered you, and they just start naming names. How crazy will that be?
I mean, if you think about it, like, there's some people that claim that that's already a thing. That, like, psychic mediums can channel and, like,
Yeah.
can
I
tell
just
them.
mean like in a way where they catch up. Supposedly, if that is true, when science gets to the point where it catches up to that, and everybody
but-
accepts it as true.
I agree with you, but by that point, and I guess you could say this doesn't account for like missing people or people that just like fly off the face of the earth. But at that point, they can probably read people's minds and can probably figure out who killed people based on just reading someone's mind.
They'd have to find the person
Well,
who
that's
killed
what I
them
was
and
saying,
read their
yeah.
mind first, though.
Yeah, if this person just disappeared off the face of the earth, then there'd be no way of telling.
There's going to be tons of very rich people who are just like going to be completely outside of the range of any mind reading.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we should do a segment on like psychic mediums who have like basically like tried to solve murders or have helped in solving murders. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be a cool segment.